Hi, I'm Brad. I bet everyone has their own personal and professional ways to communicate with one another. It can be hard in a way, especially when it comes to having autism or speech disorder. But it's a good thing we have technology these days for good use of communications. So on behalf of all that, we're going to be chatting with someone in particular that actually uses a tablet to talk for her. So without further ado, let's get this underway. Hello and welcome to another day of On My Own. And today I'm here with two lovely people. So would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, my name is Tamara Tuxon, and we thank you for inviting us. And I'm the proud mom to Mackenzie, and I'll let Mackenzie introduce herself.
My name is Mackenzie Tuxon. I have Rett Syndrome, but I have decided Rett Syndrome does not define me, I define Rett's. I was diagnosed with Rett Syndrome in kindergarten.
All right, so why don't you go into a little detail of what Rett syndrome is?
Okay, so Rett syndrome is the most severe form of autism it is for a female. It's really a female diagnosis because boys usually don't survive. It's where your X chromosome goes bad. Girls have two X chromosomes, boys only have one. That's why there are very few males that are able to live with the diagnosis, but there are some. Rett syndrome is you're not supposed to eat. You're not supposed to eat. You're supposed to be fed through a tube. Excuse me. You're supposed to be fed through a tube. You're not supposed to walk, talk. You're almost supposed to be like a quadriplegic. They have seizures, heart murmurs, and they also a lot of them don't have purposeful hand movements. Well, Mackenzie is fortunate enough. She does not have seizures. She did not have a heart murmur. She's able to eat regular food. She does have problems with her hand, but we've gone to therapy for the last 8 years, as she stated, so that we could get training. Like we had to start out with feeding herself, riding a bicycle, all of that. It's almost like you had a stroke and you have to start all over. Mackenzie was normal at first. Nothing was wrong. And by the time she got to kindergarten, she started becoming aggressive. She became very angry, crying, emotional, and she was losing her purposeful hand movements. So we went to Vanderbilt and got the diagnosis that she has Rett syndrome. And from there, we just took off and started speech therapy, occupational, and we just made up our mind we were not going to let Rett define us. We were not going to be Mackenzie with Rett syndrome. We were going to be Mackenzie that cheers, or Mackenzie that's an ambassador, or Mackenzie that's an advocate. We just made up our mind we weren't going to let it define us. Do we live with it? Yes, but we're not going to let it define us.
I totally understand all of that, and when it comes to who exactly everyone is, it can be frustrating at first because nobody's perfect. Yeah, and the point of that is to accept who they are and communicate them very well.
Okay, she wants to tell you a little bit about her activities too.
Cool.
I am a fourth-year varsity cheerleader, president of my senior class, advocate of the year for the state of Tennessee, and a student ambassador for the Nashville public school system. I will also graduate 7th in my senior class.
And Mackenzie just graduated on Monday.
Yeah, that's awesome, Mackenzie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, how's it feel?
How's it feel, Mackenzie? How's it feel?
Just take your time.
I am happy.
She's happy about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Mackenzie, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're both here. Yeah, On My Own is basically a process where anyone with a disability can have their ways to learn to live on their own and how they live with themselves, to see the world in their own way.
Well, I think it's absolutely amazing, and we are thankful that you invited us. Because we're advocates, people with individuals with disabilities, so we would like to spread the word about communication devices.
Yep, that's another important thing about life.
It is.
Yeah, so we're just using this opportunity to get to know you. It'll just be a simple process.
Okay.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me, did people look at you differently before you got the speech device?
Before I received my speech device, people would assume that I was not competent. I was not given a lot of choices. It was like being trapped in your body. You see and hear everything but are unable to respond. I remember when I first started cheering in the City League before I could get out the car, they asked my mom, how is she going to cheer? My mom stated, just watch and see.
And that was in the 4th grade? now Mackenzie just graduated, and she's cheered every year since then. So we just wanted to let them know that people cheer in different forms, shape, forms, and fashions. And she was able to use her device, which has her cheers on there now, to cheer then.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. Was there a big learning curve? Was there a big learning curve to the device?
Mackenzie, you want to talk about your learning curve?
Is there a big learning curve? The answer is yes. I have had speech, occupational and physical therapy for the last 8 years. I started with a peg picture book. I then moved to an iPad. After that I finally received my Toby. That is what I am using now. It most definitely is a process, but well worth it. My first method of speaking was babbling like any other child. It just did not lead into full sentences, due to my apraxia.
So she babbled like any other child would babble, but it didn't turn into sentences. So that's when we started speech therapy. And that's what led to the assistive technology that we have on the table.
I see. Yeah, they look fascinating.
They're all different, but they all play a purpose.
Definitely. How hard or frustrating was it to get your ideas or answers communicating before you got the device?
Do you want to talk about that?
I have a variety of ways to communicate, like any other young adult. The PEX book was my second form of communications. I had to learn to use the PEX picture in order to receive my Toby. I also learned to use switches to advocate my toys by myself. I use signs to cheer and the Big Mac switch to spirit after the cheer. I use a keyboard to type my schoolwork and an iPad to speak with and type on.
And she wants those are the communication devices, and this is how hard it was to get her point across.
It was very frustrating trying to get my point across. Before my device, I was very angry. I would bite, scream, and cry a lot. When you have Rett Syndrome, you are normal at first. Then your X chromosome goes bad, and you lose certain body functions. I have great empathy for individuals that have no way to communicate. That is why I decided to become an advocate, to help raise awareness about how important it is to have a voice.
So she struggled at first. I would receive notes home from preschool and kindergarten saying that she was biting and spitting, but that's what any individual would do at that age that could not talk. So she had no functional way to communicate. She didn't have a PEX book at the time. She didn't have the Toby. So she went through a pretty hard pretty hard time when she was younger, until we started getting into therapy and started realizing there were several ways for her to communicate.
Oh, I definitely feel that frustration there. Do the students rally around helping you at the school?
So Mackenzie's going to use another form of communication to answer that question. It's called a Big Mac switch. So she's going to go ahead and hit the Big Mac switch.
Do the students rally around me at my school and support me? That answer would have to be yes. I'm currently senior class president, and my sophomore and junior year, I was vice president. I'm fortunate enough for my peers to treat me just like they treat everyone else. My school is amazing with inclusion.
And they are amazing. Anything Mackenzie runs for, she runs just like everybody else. There's no favoritism. One of the proud points that I remember as a parent was I asked one of the students, what did they say about Mackenzie running for homecoming queen? And they said, Mackenzie with the box that talks. So it wasn't Mackenzie that was in that class. It wasn't Mackenzie that had a disability. It was Mackenzie that had the box that talked. That's how they referred to her. So I thought that was pretty amazing.
It must have been. Yeah, that's cool. Is it hard to use your device in loud places, such as sporting events?
Mackenzie, you want to tell them how hard it is?
Is it difficult to use your device in loud places? Yes, especially at sporting events. That's why I created signs for cheering. Between my parents and teacher, we made 500 signs for football and basketball season. For every cheer, I have a sign.
So and here are some of the signs behind us. This is just a few of them. So we make 200, we make 150 for football, and we make 150 for basketball. So we make them by hand. Only a few do we buy, but we make them by hand. Some of them we trace, but we color them in and we laminate them.
Yeah, that's definitely another way to communicate.
It is.
Yeah. What would you like to say to people who don't take their time to get to know you?
You want to tell them how you feel about that?
For people that do not take the time to get to know me, I have learned to be understanding and continue to educate. I have found that some people are afraid of things that look and sound different.
I found that too. Like I said, from the time with the cheering, how are you going to cheer? That's just not appropriate to ask somebody when they get out the car. But we've grown a lot too, because before we would have gotten probably angry about it, but now we kind of look at it as a teaching moment to teach people and educate people. So we're not offended by it anymore. We just look at it as she does things a little different, but at least she does it.
Yep. Learning to communicate is definitely one of the important things.
Yes.
And learning how to accept it.
And having choices.
Yes. And is there anything you want to say to encourage others with other disabilities?
What do you want to say to others? Well, go ahead. Tell them. What do you want to say to other people?
My advice to individuals with different abilities. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think, and loved more than you know. Last but not least, do not allow what people think or say stop you from doing what your heart desires.
Great answer.
That's one of my favorite answers.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say is would you say you have 2 ways that was best for you to communicate?
What 2 ways are your favorite to communicate?
My 2 favorite forms of communication are the Toby and Peck's book. The Toby, because I had to earn it, and when my hands give me a hard time I can use my eye gaze. The Peck's book is my second favorite, because it allows me to use slang with my peers and my parents.
And that's the book right here that we make. And you just flip the pages, and it's just like the Bitmoji still on your phone. We just made it a paper version.
Yeah. Yeah, neat emojis there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's been the most difficult way for you to communicate?
The most difficult form of communication, for me, has been the cell phone. Imagine getting a call, and your hands won't allow you to answer, and your apraxia won't allow you to speak. It can be frustrating at times, but I'm determined to master it.
And I think another thing would be, you see all your peers using it. All your peers use a phone, and it's difficult for you to hold, or it's difficult for you to answer. She would have to actually answer the phone and then use the device to talk, and that's a lot. And a lot of times people lose the attention span is short, so they lose the attention. They don't think to wait and give her time to use her device. So that's been the most difficult. But like she said, she's determined that she's going to use one, and she does have one, and we're practicing on it now. So
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it just takes a little time. Yeah. And that's a wrap. Mackenzie,
Let's cut in real quick, talk about a little more of these gadgets.
okay.
Oh, right.
Just point to them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
So we'll cut and go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the Toby. This is what Mackenzie uses to communicate with. The Toby does a lot. The Toby can be used as a phone. The Toby can be used as a remote. It can turn the TV off and on. It's just a computer. It's a really good computer. And it has eye gaze on there, where Mackenzie can actually move the screen with her eyes. So you can navigate the screen with your eyes. You don't have to touch it.
I am a 4th-year varsity cheerleader, president of my senior class, advocate of the year for the state of Tennessee, and a student ambassador for the Nashville public school system. I will also graduate 7th in my senior class.
So that's the Toby. This is the PECS book, which this was her second form of communication. So she had to learn the PECS pictures in order to be able to even apply for the Toby, because insurance pays for the Toby. So you have to prove that you have to do you have to put a write-up, have a medical script. The doctor sends it in and let the insurance know why you deserve to have the Toby, what's your need for it. So it's a process. And also, when she was younger, she used switches if she wanted to play with her toys. She didn't have to come and ask somebody. She could hit the switch. This was one of her favorites. So it's starting independence at a young age too. So she's learning at a young age. I don't have to depend on somebody to move my toys. I can hit the switch and play my toys like everybody else can. So these are Big Mac, Little Mac switches that you're able to. I need to turn it on. We know it's all about the bows. So these are switches that we use at home that she can just ask simple stuff.
I would like something to eat, please. I'm thirsty. I need to go to the restroom, please.
So we don't use that very much out in public because it's not that loud, but we can use it at home to just request simple stuff. And then this is the Big Mac switch, which can be used for all kinds of things. She can use it to usher at church and greet the people coming in. She can also use it to spirit with. So after the cheer, she would hit the button, and the girls have recorded themselves saying, "Oh, Cobras, let's go." So she would hit the switch same time they did, and so she could spirit. And also we used it for when she's an ambassador. She used it to greet the people coming into the school, and when they would leave the school, she would tell them, once a Cobra, always a Cobra. So it's a good tool for introduction, for greetings. You can pre-record stuff on it. The Big Mac switch is good. It's good.
Yeah, it does.
You can even use it to say, like, if you're sitting at family dinner, she can say her blessing with the Big Mac switch. Just record it on there, and when it's her turn, she hit the switch. That's right.
That's awesome.
And this is another Toby that she said she'd outgrown this one. She'd had this one since the 4th grade, but it has all of her cheers on here. And so we put the cheers where they could say it.
Hey, from north to south.
So this is the last but not least, this is the iPad, and she uses this to carry around at school so that she can talk to her peers or anyone else. And it's not as heavy as the Toby. And it has the same software. So it has an advocacy page on there. It has topics. So she has an advocacy page on here, about me page, appointments and stuff. So when she goes to the doctor and checks in, she can use the iPad instead of carrying the Toby. And that's about it. That's a lot, but you know what? They all serve a purpose.
Yeah, they all look very helpful.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having us on the show, and we hope this helps someone. And if they have any questions, we're advocates and we're open to answer them.
Yeah, very well. It was really great having you here.
All right.
Yeah, and I got something for you while you're here. Yeah, and you might be surprised with this.
Oh, Mackenzie, that is
look
beautiful. Look. Oh my goodness. And do you all know that her middle school cheering squad was the Bulldogs? They were the Oliver Middle Bulldogs.
Photos.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to come over here?
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
We love portraits. Do you like it? Also, Mackenzie hits your hand 3 times. That's a yes.
So Rita was the artist on this one.
That's right.
So Rita, you drew this?
Yep.
This is gorgeous. Thank you so much. This
Turn
is.
around so the camera can see it.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, this is.
Hold it up. Right there. Perfect.
This is beautiful. She's so happy. Oh, thank you. I love it.
Well, it's from your friends over here at On the Avenue.
Thank you so much. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very
You're
welcome.
very talented. Thank you. So we'll put that on your wall, Mackenzie. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's going to be a good decoration.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us for On My Own. We had a great talk here. Mackenzie, it was great having you here.
Do you want to tell them thank you, Mackenzie?
Boo-poo.
She said, me too.
Boo-poo.
Love it.
Yeah, thanks very much. And
Boo-poo.
yeah, awesome. Catch you later.